Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Underrated Major. Today I'll be doing a video discussing the worst fairy tale moments. Now, as you guys know, fairy tale, it is not a perfect series. Fairy tale is not exactly the 10 out of 10 series. While I acknowledge that fairy tale is not a perfect series, at the same time I still do enjoy it. I still do love the series a lot. I know that earlier on, like when the manga was finishing up, I had a lot of bad things to say about Fairy Tail, but after going back and rewatching it a bit, I told myself, you know what, I'm not gonna let one arc ruin my whole experience for a series, because really up until the final arc in Fairy Tail, and not even the final arc, it was like the last couple of, it was like the last like 30 or so chapters in the final arc, but really up until the final arc, I really had no problems. Well, I didn't have any major problems with Fairy Tail. There was always the little minor problems here and there, but up until the final arc, I actually like gave Fairy Tail, like I would actually give it like a solid like 9 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? But the final arc kind of, it brought the scaling down. But after going back and rereading and watching it, it made me realize, this series, I'm not gonna let one arc ruin my experience. However, I'm going to be doing a video today discussing my worst moments in Fairy Tail. Now, these are the moments that I hate the most. I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of moments that some people, there's a lot of moments that people hate in Fairy Tail, but me personally, these are like my handful of moments that I hate, like the most. And there's going to be a couple manga spoilers. Don't worry, I'm going to give you guys a heads up if there are anime onlys, but there's only about 3 over there, so yeah, you guys are pretty good. So without further ado, let's go and get to the video. Now, the first moment that I hate, or these aren't in like any specific orders, like these aren't in ranking, but the number one is Makarov versus Acnologia. Actually, Makarov surviving Acnologia. This one just pissed me off so much due to the fact that this is Acnologia, and Makarov we saw in Tenro Island when Makarov basically turned into his giant form on some Master Roshi stuff. He basically got big and buff, and he went head on with Acnologia. Now, mind you, this is Acnologia, the Acnologia in dragon form. Mind you, Gildarts got Skunk Vibe, got his arm taken by him. Gildarts is one of the strongest people in the guild. Mind you, Acnologia ends up killing Igneo. Obviously, he didn't kill him like prior. He did, Igneo was still alive, but still, the fact that Makarov walked away pretty much unscathed from a fight with Acnologia after going head on with them, I was like, oh my god, like this is just like, come on, Makarov, you should have got skunked by Acnologia a long time ago. Like, now I know why people say that Makarov should be dead. Like, a lot of people, they wanted Makarov to die, and I definitely do gotta say that, me personally, I wish that Makarov would have died against Acnologia. The fact that he survived against him, yeah, that really does just irk my nerves a bit. And staying on the topic of this whole Tenro Island thing, the one thing that I gotta discuss that I don't like, the number 2, is the 7-year time skip. Now, me personally, this was completely unnecessary. Like, I understand it was there to like basically introduce new people like Sting and Rogue and all the other people, age Romeo a bit, but for Fairy Tail, like the guild Fairy Tail itself, it was useless. Like, it was dumb. Like, it was just straight up dumb. Like, I didn't like the whole idea of this 7-year time skip thing. Like, why not just introduce Sting and Rogue? Like what's the point of having this whole 7-year time skip if the characters don't change at all? Because me personally, when I see time skips, naturally I'm going to compare them to other series. Naruto, major time skip. Shippuden, the characters basically grew up. They started off at like 12, grew in Shippuden, they're like 17, 18. That was a time skip. One Piece, 2-year time skip. So you're not going to see like major changes, but some characters still did change. Usopp, shout out to my boy, he went and started hitting the gym. You know what I'm saying? Even Dragon Ball Z, major time skip. Goku basically started a whole family from the time skip from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, whenever I see a time skip, I'm naturally going to compare it to other series, and this Fairy Tail 7-year time skip for the Fairy Tail guild was useless. Like, it was just dumb. Like, why not just say, why not just bring in Sting and Rogue and be like, okay, these guys are from Fior. Like, it's not that, like, I don't know. Me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the 7-year time skip. So yeah, that's at number 2, the 7-year time skip. Now, this moment is going to be from the Grand Magic Games, and no, it's not the moment that you think. It's not the moment when Sting surrenders the Fairy Tale. It's not the moment when basically, it's not those typical moments, but it's Natsu taking on Sting and Rogue by himself. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I am a fan of the Grand Magic Games. Now, I know some people, they already want to dislike, leave, and just straight up, they just want to run out of there. Some people, or not even some people, majority of the community, not the fairy tale community, but like the anime community, the quote unquote anime community, they hate the Grand Magic Games. But me, for the most part, I'm a fan of the Grand Magic Games. Me personally, when I was getting, I read all the Grand Magic Games and stuff by myself. I wasn't in the community. I didn't have nobody to persuade my opinion on this arc. So yeah, I basically went in there like blinded. But the one thing that really pissed me off about this arc, it wasn't Sting admitting that he couldn't beat not Natsu, but it wasn't Sting like surrendering to the Fairy Tale. You know what I'm saying? It was Natsu taking on Sting and Roll by himself, because number one, the way how he just straight up fatherized Gajeel, that was just straight up, that was just nonsense. Because at the time, Gajeel, he was my favorite character, and Natsu just basically like pushed him down in a cart, and it was like, what? Like, this was supposed to be a hyped up battle, Natsu and Gajeel versus Sting and Rogue. That was supposed to happen, but that never did. But one thing that I do gotta say why I don't like this is because Natsu handled them with ease. I mean, Natsu was basically in his base form. Sting and Rogue were in their Dragon Force mode, and Dragon Force is basically like the Super Saiyan of the series. Like, it's basically the Super Saiyan of the series. So the fact that one base Dragon Slayer was able to take on two Dragon Force Dragon Slayers, just straight up demolish. Like, come on, that makes no sense. Like, I am not a fan of that. Me personally, I did not enjoy that whatsoever. That was just straight up garbage. I would have liked it if Gajeel fought side by side. That would have been dope. But the fact that Nacho just took on Stinky Rogue by himself, yeah, that was terrible. Now, the last one for the anime onlys is going to be the Dragon Slayers versus Dragons. Now, unlike all the other ones on this list, I don't necessarily hate this moment. I just don't like this. Like, I just don't think this moment makes sense, because we saw during the whole Eclipse project, we saw the dragons, they basically came in through the portal, and we thought, yes, it was finally going to be time for the Dragon Slayers to show why they're Dragon Slayers. They're called Dragon Slayers for a reason. And it just never happens. Like, these guys they just don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, what's going on? Like, why can't these guys take out the dragons? Like, don't get me wrong, I think that it was hype because it kind of showed, like, it was hype for the dragons part, because it kind of showed, just because you're a dragon slayer, that doesn't mean that you can like defeat every dragon. However, you're a dragon slayer at the end of the day, and for the most part in Fairy Tail, we've never seen the dragon slayers, like, the slayers never slay anything. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but the slayers never slay everything except for like the demon slayer. Like, Gray is like the only one who's lived up, or Silver and Gray is like the only people who've lived up to their name, because the dragon slayers, they didn't take on any dragons. God Slayers, I'm not gonna spoil, but God Slayers, I'm not gonna spoil, but Dragon Slayers, this was their moment. This was the moment for them to show why they're Dragon Slayers. So this kind of like made Dragon Slayer magic like kind of useless, because they couldn't even take out the dragons. So why is it called Dragon Slayer magic if they can't do it? I don't know, but that was just a little gripe I had with this moment. Now, like I said, these next ones are going to be manga only. The next three ones are going to be manga only. So if you're anime only, and if you don't want to get spoiled, you can hit the dash. But leave a like before you hit the dash. You know what I'm saying? Help your boy out. But yeah, without further ado, let's go and get into it. Now, the first one is going to be Natsu one-shotting a god. Now, I know that when this first happened in the anime community, or when this first happened, the anime community went nuts. They were bolstering, they were going off the walls, they were going crazy. And me personally, I didn't really have a problem with this moment at first, but when I went back and like reread the fight, I noticed just how stupid it was. Like, I don't care that a god got, I don't care that a god got one shot at. My problem is why even have this moment in here? Because if you look at it, like the arc where it occurred, towards like the end of like the whole time skip Avatar arc thing, why even have the guy summon a god? Like, it was just so pointless. It just felt like it was so pointless. Like, he couldn't just summon up like some fodder demon or anything. Like, they made him summon out like a god. Like, it's like Hiro Mashima was trying to just make Natsu do some really OP stuff. Like, why have him summon a god just to get one shot at, two shot, you know? I just think it was dumb just introducing them, because we never got expansion on the war gods either. Like, I believe it was called like the 18, he was one of like the 18 battle gods or something like that, and we didn't even get any type of expansion on the other 17. So why even introduce somebody like that? I just think it was a dumb moment for Fairy Tail. Now this one, it was hype, but it still got me mad because this was one of my favorite characters. But God Serena getting one shotted. Now, if you guys know me, I am a huge God Serena fan. God Serena is one of my top 5 favorite characters. I like his personality. I like his introduction. You know, I like everything about him. And don't get me wrong, it was hype on the end of Acnologia, but for God Serena, it was trash. Like, if this is mainly me coming just because I'm a God Serena like fanboy, you know, I like him a lot. And the fact that he got skunked so easily by Acnologia, yeah, this was one of my least favorite. Like, I don't, it's hard to explain. Like, I hate the moment because I'm a God Serena fan, but at the same time, like, Acnologia is also one of my favorite characters, so you know, it's kind of like a toss-up. So like, I don't like the way how God Serena was handled. I think he should have at least put up a little bit of a fight before getting taken out. I'm not saying he should have beat Acnologia, but I don't think that he should have just got demolished like that, because that just threw the power scaling way off. You know, God Serena, he was basically, I think it's safe to say that at the time he was stronger than Natsu, and the fact that Acnologia one-shot at him, that made it look like that Natsu stood no chance. And this is going to segue to my last point, which is Natsu versus Acnologia. This fight was terrible. This fight was trash. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that this fight could have been great had there been more chapters, because we know that Fairy Tail randomly, we basically got the notice saying Fairy Tail has 5 chapters left, and then within like the last like 3 chapters, they tried to like hype up the final battle between Natsu and Acnologia. And don't get me wrong, I think it was dope when Acnologia was actually beating down on Natsu and the Dragon Slayers, because that's how it's supposed to go. But when Natsu made his comeback, one shot at him and basically said, you lost because of friends, and Acnologia, yo, I hate how they made Acnologia go, oh, you're right, I did lose because of my friends. Like, what you never have friends? Like, what? That makes no sense. Like, you never have friends to begin with, so how do you know this feeling to like lose friend? Like, this fight was terrible. I was about to give Hiro Mashima the benefit of the doubt. I was about to say that maybe it was because it was rushed, but at the end of the day, nobody told him to end the series. Like, me personally, I think he just ended it because he didn't want to write Fairy Tail anymore. But overall, that's basically it for my worst Fairy Tail moments. Let me know which moments you guys hate in Fairy Tail the most. I'm gonna be dropping a video on my favorite Fairy Tail moments, so yeah, comment what you guys think down below. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.